Welcome to the Beyond Average podcast, where we go beyond revenue and talk about what really builds enterprise value: leadership, culture, customer connection, and scalable systems through the four intangible capitals. So I'm Kristin Carlson, and joining me today is Melanie McConville, Director of Sales Enablement and Coaching at Mariner Wealth Advisors in St. Louis, Missouri. So Melanie, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So, how did you get to this point in your career at Mariner and focused on leadership development?
Oh, great question. So 25 years sort of in our industry, I've always had the desire to be able to lead with my heart and my mind, and to focus on working with leaders because the scalability there is just incredible. So when Mariner called and they said that, they really wanted a coach to come on board and to work with their leaders, and to work with their advisors, to me it was the perfect fit.
Awesome. So, what brought you to focus on leadership for your career?
Well, I think when I think about like early on in my career and kind of thinking about like what I truly believe that people are the currency of every, they really are the currency in business. I had a leader very early on in my career. So, like when I stepped into my very first management role, he took me aside and he said, okay, just remember, you are responsible for caring for these folks. They have families and their families depend on them. And the way that you lead is going to impact not only their careers, but it's going to impact their confidence. It's going to impact the opportunities that they have to go forward. And it's going to impact our communities. So it was a pretty intense conversation to take on when you're 30 years old, stepping into your first leadership role. I'm like, okay, this is definitely, very serious. It's not just, hey, I want to grow up through the channels and I want people under me so that I can advance. This is about empowerment to others and into the community. So that conversation really fundamentally changed how I personally view leadership.
Mhm.
So therefore, like in all the roles forward, and I've worn a lot of hats through my career. But so whether or not I'm leading a team or I'm leading a pretty extensive project, I always take that with me. I know that driving performance is important, but I'm going to drive it through love. And we don't necessarily talk about that word a lot,
Mhm.
but love is a very important piece, I think, when we step into leadership roles, because we really are there to lead, to grow, and to enable others to flourish.
So, how do you take that learning from that mentor and share it with the people you're working with at Mariner?
So in my current role, I have had the privilege of working with other leaders to really build out a leadership program. So we were able to kind of step back and to curate a program for leaders at Mariner. And then that program helped to really fundamentally create sort of a structure where they could learn and they could grow and we could have conversations. We could talk about what it means to lead, to lead through change, to lead through the world of AI, to lead through the world of business. Um, I think sometimes what I hear a lot of times is like the business is easy, Melanie, but the people is hard, right?
Exactly.
And people can be messy. I mean, we're all individuals. So, being able to really like have a structure in place and learn how to coach. And there are different kinds of coaching, right? There's coaching for performance, there's coaching for growth, there's just sitting down and having a conversation and asking really good questions, so that somebody can go back to a team and to lead a team. So I had the pleasure to be able to stand up that program at Mariner. And then I also work directly with all of our regional leaders and their teams as well. So that's such a privilege to be able to work with them and to be thinking about like how are we going to impact the different markets? How are we going to grow the advisors? What are we going to be able to do from a human capital standpoint? So it's that partnership with HR, partnership with our regional leaders, and then our partnership with practice management and our coaching offerings.
Yeah, well, it's so wonderful to hear of a company that's investing in coaching, right? And seeing how to help their team and their leaders be more successful. But it's not just the successful, but how to empower. Now, as an advisor, do they have people reporting to them, or are they taking this to their client relationships?
Oh, so the folks that we that are in leadership roles, they are on teams. So they're on wealth teams. So we'll have like a regional leader, and they have sort of a region under them, and they'll have market managers that report to them, and then the market managers will have managing directors that report to them. So there is a structure of senior wealth advisors that report to them. We have a lot of different kinds of wealth teams at Mariner. We have vertical teams, which are senior wealth advisors with sort of a support system. And then we also have what we call horizontal teams or and diamond teams. So, those are definitely different reporting structures, but they're all wealth teams, different kinds of wealth teams. Yeah, so
And have you
lots of
built a
different ways.
team? Have you built a team around you to support the company?
Oh, great question. Actually, we have a practice management team, and I really am the only one on my team that kind of works directly with the senior well, with the regionals in that space. So there is not a team around me.
Okay.
But I do have the pleasure then of leveraging and partnering with others in Mariner. So I kind of have like this interesting kind of team, right? So collaboration is a really important piece to be able to partner with our organic growth leaders and our HR business partners, as well as our our investment teams as well. So I have a team. It's just a little bit different.
So do you put on training on a annual basis for everyone, or or maybe in addition to being called and saying, "Hey, I have this challenge. How can you help me work through it?"
Yeah. So, yes, so we definitely have opportunities for our advisors to really um, to learn and to grow on how to develop their team. We do a lot of leadership meetings in the different regions. So our regional leaders work really hard with their leadership team, and I work with them really to kind of cultivate the wealth team um, to support the regions. So we do an extensive amount of work there. And it's really about bringing all of the resources that Mariner has to the advisors so that they can grow and impact the clients. So, for example, we have a tremendous amount of opportunities for our advisors to be very successful in the organic growth space. So we do a lot of work with the CPAs, and we have a CPA alliance. So our advisors have the opportunity to step in and to work in that space to grow their practices. So if we are doing like an offsite leadership, we're bringing those specialists to the table, as well as our investment banking team to the table to have conversations with our leaders so that they know how to leverage those resources that they have internally. And then that allows them to go back to the teams and to like look, then we do a lot of business planning, right? Tons of business planning. Like we want to look at the business plan of the team, and we want to understand what is their unique like niche? What is their strength? Where are their clients? And this can pertain to any business. Any business, it really is important to step back and to do that business plan. I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. Yeah, and having those business plans is important because it lays down a foundation or a game plan. So when we look at that, we can see like, when we go in and we look at the client mix, um, where do they have passion? So I have advisors that have niches that are business owners. I mean, that's a that's a very impactful niche. We have business owners. We have a lot of clients that are business owners. And we then at Mariner have a tremendous amount of resources to be able to provide them um, as business owners. So if they're looking to grow their business or if they're looking to sell their business, um, there are two different ways, obviously, um, and everything that kind of goes with that. So we will sit down, I'll sit down with advisors and kind of go through all of that, and we'll kind of figure out their game plan.
Awesome.
So
So you do a lot of education too about all the resources Mariner has that they can
yeah.
leverage with their clients.
And then the team that's around me, the practice management team, we have specialists on our team that will actually then work with them on cases. So if it's a business owner, I'll just kind of go with that scenario. We have our advanced planning team in practice management will go ahead and work with them um, on just different cases so that like we have an SMP group that's dedicated to business owners. We have a valuation team that that our advisors can tap into with their clients. So there's just a tremendous amount of resources that our advisors have when working with business owners.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So do you think there is a secret sauce to building high performing teams?
I do. Um, so definitely a secret sauce, right? So I definitely think that we all, any team, right? Any business, any team, we just to step back and I think folks should really reflect on what Brene Brown states. So she states that a deep sense of love and belonging is what people need. That we are biologically, cognitively, physically, and spiritually wired to love, to be loved, and to belong. So if we think about that like as the foundation for a moment, um, like our human brains are just wired. We are wired to think like, am I safe? These are the questions we're asking subconsciously, right? Am I safe? Do I belong? Am I valued? Can I trust the people around me? So, any business, any team, these are what people are thinking about. And they're not going to feel psychologically safe if there isn't like that foundation. So when I think about sort of the AI, I know AI is a huge topic, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So like what I'm hearing a lot is like AI, my job's going to go away. So I don't know if you're hearing that as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There's a fear. Yes.
So there's that fear because
Mhm.
it's directly impacting one of the foundational pieces, right? Like they're not feeling like, how do I belong to this ecosystem? Um, and it kind of goes against like cognitively how we're wired. So it's really about the task piece. Like AI is like in our industry, it's about the task. And I think other business owners and other teams as they start to think about AI taking on the efficiency. So maybe it's the words need to change, right?
Mhm.
It's an ability to create efficiencies so that people can focus on what really matters, which is the human connection. So kind of like that pendulum swinging. I feel like we, in a way, have the ability to capitalize on bringing back a human-centered environment in business by reducing all of the tasks that we do every day. So I would hope that teams begin to maybe shift their mindset a little bit around that. And then the other thing I would say too, like from a strength-based standpoint, in with AI and with that thought, like, oh, like my job is going away. When we know that the data that Gallup has done shows when people lean in with their strengths, that they are going to be 23% more profitable, and there's an 18% higher productivity rate. Okay, so if we kind of take those numbers and we align it to people's strengths and we think about like where are people mostly spending their time? They're spending their time on tasks and an email and doing and getting interrupted. So you kind of use AI to do that. Then you have all this space to lean into your strengths and depending upon your business and the team that you're on to really accelerate what you're passionate about and what you're good at. So it's an opportunity.
Right. I really see it. Yeah, how can we focus on the strategic things versus the day-to-day things that can suck up all of our time, right? So it gives us that opportunity to free our minds to focus on the strategy and the people and how to empower everyone, right? To really contribute at a higher level.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right when you say that, especially for leaders, being able to strategize and then actually being able to implement. So they have the bandwidth.
Right. It should free us up to give us that bandwidth, right?
It should. It should. Yeah. And I mean, it does then allow them to really build, like, lean in and build like these very trustful, I think, environments.
Hmm.
And I think that's an important piece too of high performing teams is that I mean, we always talk about trust, but then nobody really goes into what trust is.
Hmm.
So when we start to dissect, well, what is trust? Like there is like the neuroscience behind like trust. Trust is doing like what you say you're going to do, your words matching your actions. So being very transparent, like all of those things are what go into like the trust mix. So we need those things in order to be able to have leaders. You need the time and you need the capacity to be able to have the leaders be consistent, allow them time to be empathetic, allow them time to recognize their employees, and to be able to be transparent. So when all of those things are allowed to happen in space, then our brains do release chemicals, the oxytocin, and that oxytocin actually is what helps strengthen. So it's chemical reaction that helps strengthen relationships. And it allows then the collaboration on teams to happen. So, all like the body science is there. Um,
Hmm.
so again, the secret sauce kind of goes back to Brene Brown's statement about like the connection piece. So,
Right. And
um,
I think just even reflecting on actions as a leader, is this action going to be building trust or taking, if it's not building trust, it may be taking it away. So, how do we evaluate the things that we do and say really so we can continually build that trust? Because, right, then everyone's guard comes down, right? And we
yeah,
feel empowered to share and contributing and brainstorm ideas if that trust is there.
no, it's so true. Because if like we've all been in those meetings where we're in like a situation where we're on a team that doesn't have the safety, right?
Hmm.
And you feel like, okay, well, no matter what I say, it's not going to be valued.
Right.
So, so at the end of the day, when you think about those situations, like a leader can't move the team forward if people are stuck in that mindset. So it goes back to exactly what you said.
Right. And I think we had talked before we started here just even about the soccer that we're watching these days,
Yeah.
right? And we can see how important um, building those relationships and trust across the team, right, can help them be more successful. So Melanie, just to wrap up, I mean, do you have any last words of wisdom for us?
Oh, I think that communication is probably the one that that I would like leave people with. So we use that word communication in such a broad term. When I work with leaders across the board, right? Um, we talk a lot about communication, but I think communication and having a structure is important. So having a sort of a framework for the team is very important. So I would definitely encourage people to have like a regular meeting. And in that regular meeting, really to use agendas. I ask all the time, you know, do you have a regular cadence for meetings? Oh, yeah, sure, we do. And then I'll ask the next question, do you have an agenda? I don't need one of those. Yes, you do. So the agenda is so important to use because it creates accountability, but it also creates consistency and transparency. So then I would also encourage people to really have open conversations about of engagement on in those meetings and create space on that agenda for feedback. When we're able to have meetings where we can openly have feedback in a positive way, then again, the guard to your point is let down. We can have healthy conversations about what really matters for that team. Um, so I think that it's really important. My words of wisdom would be to really have a consistent cadence of a communication structure, but to use agendas and to have rules of engagement and to really embrace the feedback.
Right. And I agree that having that consistency also builds trust, right? And gives that employee an opportunity to know that, hey, I get their time at this time and I can share the things that I need, to be talking with them about. So I agree with you that that's a great place to start because it's only going to build on that, right? So. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your wisdom, and thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.